This is Prince Caspian. The boy in the Tronos classroom who wrote without falter or query, who moved the strokes of his Persian voice in silence across the page, who scribed a story of loss and love, Afghanistan, his home. Like Caspian, may he rise us up from that page, rise us up alongside him with the wisps, flicks and kisses of his language meeting ours in this autumn air. May his fingers entwine ours, grasp our hands, hold our hearts along the braided rivers of his land across all oceans, as together we encircle the hammering grief of Ankara, Baghdad, Beirut, Paris, and Minneapolis.
Prins Caspian. Pojken i klassrummet i Tranås, han som skrev utan tvekan eller frågor, han som strök sin persiska röst tyst över pappret, han som ristade en berättelse om förlust och kärlek. Afghanistan var hans hem. Som Caspian ska han låta oss uppstå från arket, låta oss uppstå bredvid honom med det som antyder, snärtar, kysser i hans språk, vilket möter vårt i höstluften. Låt hans fingrar tvinna in i våra, gripa våra händer, hålla våra hjärtan längs den sammanflätande floderna i hans land, över haven, där vi tillsammans omfamnar den bultande sorgen från Ankara, Bagdad, Beirut, Paris, Minneapolis.
I'm going to do two short poems that belong together, an old one and a new one. The first one I wrote in 2017, I think. It's published in Strix magazines, called Urban Pedestrian. The urban pedestrian knows all the tricks, every ginnel, every back street, every right of way. Knows how to shave a minute and exchange monoxide main road for a park or a lazy canal. The urban pedestrian knows what it takes. He'll be there in exactly 32 minutes. No traffic jams can spoil his plans. No two-star Uber drivers. No buses lost to suburban Bermuda triangles. The urban pedestrian strides on his way, alert for his only enemies, the dawdling fool and the little red man who always says, wait. And I've been thinking about the urban pedestrian recently and how he's coping with lockdown and all. So I've written a sequel to that poem, which is The Urban Pedestrian in Self-Isolation. The urban pedestrian stays in his home, composing mental route maps, draws on soft-edge memories of off-road experiments, orbital excursions, road signs hung in his eyes. The urban pedestrian stares at the screen, taking street view shortcuts, explores the unfamiliar nooks of Baltimore and Basel, Kyoto and Kiev, clicks for 1,000 miles. The urban pedestrian longs for release, for the sound of heel on concrete, asphalt, stone, the hum of idle engines while he waits at the junction. Waits till his light turns green.
Yes. It's called Calon y Môr, Heart of the Sea. Mae'r môr yn cysgu'n gadran trwy'r nos. Mae'r tir yn gwylio'n dawel fel ddraig, gorffennol y perygl, sydd wedi gydio y môl y bwstfel, yn deffro i wlad diwiau dymwyniol. Am y tro mae'r môr yn dawel, ac mae'r glanod yn gorffros yn dawel ar glogwyn. Barwn wedi peintio thal astustiad ac argol pasgod wedi pwdri. Bydd Calon y Môr yn ffrwydio'r unwaith eto ac yn glanhau'r tir yw'r gogoniant blenarol. I'll say it in English. The heart of the sea The sea is sleeping soundly through the night. The land is watching silently like a dragon from the past. The danger hidden in the belly of the beast, awakening to the call of crashing gods. For now the sea is calm, and the seagulls rest quietly on barren cliffs, painted with artist's manure and the smell of rotten fish. The heart of the sea will erupt once more and cleanse the land to its former glory. Thank you.
This is Night in a Beach Cave. While I wait, grains of sand trickle over skin, surround all my body as I sink into the hollow. Rocks settle around me and creak into comfy darkness. Water bleeds from hanging walls, drips slow down slopes. Rock pleats into the push and shove of sedimentary beds, flow folded plates displaced into intense creases of stress, deformation, compaction. A small fissure makes a flag of sky as night edges away and grows colder. Outside, waves thunder onto shore, and as I bury deeper, they shush and dispel to meet a horizon where light catches sea breath. At last, dawn arrives, sailing over the brink to where I sigh in the dark.
This is called Holy Havard Howl Nightmare. Om Sri Madreya, Om Sri Madreya, Om Sri Madreya, holy, 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 holy. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked. I saw floating in the methamphetamine connections of naked cities, deconstructing the cock and balls of bebop, drinking turpentine and Coca-Cola in number 43 Devati Flats, from Gendros to Kumburla and back to Plasmar, shuddering, hollow-eyed and wasted to fuck on the bleak battering of the number 25 bus, busted by the man down in Bonamine, between the baked bacteria of buggery and benzodrine blowback, baptizing its bazooka boombox as it rocks and rolls its way through Manselton and Money'sbach to the hydrogen-blown back streets of Blinamice, where skull-crazy cathedrals blast my brain to luminous Blakean visions of Evening Post hacks, builders' cracks, wolf packs, starving jacks, smoking Semtex and dynamite in the toilets of the Adam and Eve when it was the Adam and Eve, in existential subway visions breaking down Old Drear and drained of radiance on the pukey pavement outside the Potter's Wheel, the 10B, 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 with ECT tranquilizers, antidepressants, up the coid again, staring blankly at yakety-yakketing hours of daytime TV, Jeremy Kyle and Bargain Hunt, so that if you weren't bipolar, paranoid disorder when you were admitted, you sure as shit were when you were discharged. Discharged like pus from a sucking wound into the Achabi bed and breakfasts of Oystermouth Road, where Mochin D mattresses and plastic sheets synthesize into hallucinogenic bodily fluids to freak your mind completely once and forever. And from Portmead to Penlan, from Townhill to Treboith, from Clydach to Llangavelach, I ride the screaming seagull neon vibrations. of cheap thrills, cheap pills, cheap vodka and ketamine, because I'm with you, Di Solomon, in Wine Street, where you must feel very strange, sharing a smoky, blunt and salubrious passage and a KY jelly hand job round the side of the takeaway pizza burger, where I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked.
The poem is called Bubbles. Pithy person spits her words. Get out of my head. Furious with the F word. Classy lady gives warning. Beware, next time, tongue lashing FFF. Who or what qualifies the term swearing? Swearing words or not, tone takes lead. Increased threat by the silent, sickly swearer, this akin to sugar and diabetes. Is there concern or need to care? Crystal clear bubbles or concealed cursing, bubbles made to burst. Words filtered suggesting angry no more. Angry, not angry, or on the fence. Prickly, defensive, but real. Pretense, welcomed or not. Politeness, white lies, now let me think. Pretense, politeness, both befitting and real. Are you true to self and others? Careful with what you say, otherwise jail time. Be free, this is but a game. Bubbling trail of words energized in motion. Beautiful bubbles burst. Bubbles, mine and yours, offers no permanence. Our Creator's vision, divinely perfect, view of bubbles. Chuckling, witty exasperation of oh dear, oh dear. Recognition of man, woman, and child's opportunity to make, blow, and burst bubbles. Potentials of perfect disallowed at the hand of human beings. People power or poverty. Mankind's destructive ways. Good luck, precious bubbles.
Rhwng dau gau yn enlli. Diolch i wardeiniad, ymddeiriadolwyr, gwirfoddolwyr, mae pob giat yn agor yn rhwydd, yn symud yn ysgafn ar ei chetynau a'i chliciad yn llithro i'w lle a gras. Nid oes rhaid gwthio giatiau, neu codi, neu llusgo trwy fwd. Does dim rhaid datod clymau cortyn bêls, ac mae bob camfa yn gadarn. Rwy'n camu drostynt, heb fachu fy jeans ar gysanau a'n llythrennog gweiran bigog. Yma, lle mae esgyrn yn y pridd, mae'n hawdd mynd o un cae i'r cae nesaf. Between two fields on Enlli. Thanks to wardens, island managers, volunteers, every gate opens easily, swings freely on its hinges and its latch slips into place with grace. There is no need to shove the gates, nor lift them, nor drag them through the mud. There's no need to open knots of bale of twine with fumbling fingers, and every stile is sturdy. I step over without snagging my jeans on the illiterate signatures of barbed wire. Here, where there are bones in the soil, it is easy to go from this field to the next field. Ar ôl bod ym Modawen, weithiau roeddan ni, hi a fi, yn ei gweld yn dianc, yn sglefrio i ffwrdd i'w rhyddid ym mhatryma'r carpedi ac ymhlygiadau'r llenni ac ymysgu ffrindiau ar y radio. Ac yna roedd angen eu hamgylchynuol a sŵ disgrifio, Ddim ceffyl, mwy na dafad. Ei llusgo nôl i'w priod len ein cica. Biwch? Ia, biwch, corlanwyd gair, awn ymlaen ar sgwrs. A finna, wrth gerdded adra, yn enwi fy myd fel plentyn blwydd, rhag cofn i'r diawliad yn ystywall, lithrog hyn pryd I guddio yn y beth ti'n galw ar ochr y lôn. After a visit to Bodawen, sometimes we, she and I, would see them escaping, sliding away to their freedom between the carpet swirls, in the folds of the curtains, and amongst their friends on the radio. And then they had to be surrounded with a lasso of description. Not a horse, bigger than a sheep. We drag them back to their rightful place in our mouths. A cow? Yes, a cow. A word corralled, our conversation continues. And as I walk home, I name my world like a toddler, in case the crafty buggers slip too soon to hide in the whatchamacallit by the side of the road.
It's called Lost at Sea. The lost at sea are steering the boat, one hand on the tiller. It's remarkable that they're still afloat. They don't care if they kill you. They ride the waves, unseeing eyes, clambering heights and sinking low, haunting even the waterside, where nobody else would dare to dwell, for fear of reprise, or a sad demise on that ever-rebounding wave to hell. The lost at sea hear nothing at all, naval or phantom bell. They have no idea what they're still doing there, high on the hubris swell. Suddenly something is sucking the sea. We're aground, then again, then around. The lost at sea are falling about. Windward heave to, but there's no one can do. The sailcloths are worn or disastrously torn as we turn once again to the eye of the storm. The lost at sea feel naught but the deck under their sea-green feet. Their lives are already lost on this wreck as their silent hollers repeat. The lost at sea go from starboard to port. Nobody questions their crossing. They're forcing the thing straight into ill wind. No good can come of this passing. Their senses have gone, but we know by and by, soft shrouds on the banks will be massing. A gigantic wave as tall as a house, tilting the earth as it travels. The lost at sea have swept all away, but the land and the sea and the mountains and me. And I see, I record, that which no one would believe by day.
Se fue dócilmente. Los hombres buenos, allí, en la última ola, tan lúcidos, llorando. Sus frágiles obras pudieron haber bailado en una bahía verde. Dylan Thomas. El marinero, con la cabeza llena de fuego, bailando en el muelle de Mumbles y escalando alturas. Tan frágil ahora, hombre clavado en sábanas de lino. Intento sonsacarte, quiero que te enojes, quiero verte doblegada, con gritos fatuos, pero estás furiosa, y no lo sé. Furiosa, furiosa como una enana roja. Oh, mi padre, me has dado la tarea más difícil. Para dejar de arder se requiere una bendición. Tengo que decirle a mi madre que te deje ir. Y entonces, un beso de Indian Summer dócilmente abre tus ojos para una última sonrisa. Así me otorgas un deber, proteger a tu esposa. Y ahora, ella vive en el fuego, ardiendo, ardiendo, como llamas de Juno. Thank you very much.
So in English, the poem is called Went Gently, and it has an epigraph from Dylan Thomas. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. The sailor with a head full of fire, dancing on Mumble's pier and scaling heights. So fragile now, man of stick in linen. I tease you, want to make you mad, want to see you double up with foolish hoots. But you are raging, and I do not know. Raging, raging like a red dwarf. Oh, my father, you have given me the hardest task. To stop a blazing, a blessing is required. I have to tell my mother to let you go. And so, an Indian summer's kiss gently opens your eyes for a last smile. As you pass to me a duty to protect your wife. And she now, living fire, burns, burns like flaming June. Thank you very much.
This is called 17520. Stumbling sleepless into primrose sky's broken promise, sipping yesterday's coffee reduced on the hob the nicotine doesn't hit, unaccompanied by Friday's red wine day release. Clifton Street. Seagulls quarrel over discarded polystyrene pleasures pecked at before joining widowers' aimless walk. The Poundland Patrol, procuring pot noodle, Murray mince and Rizzlers, unlike Sunday mornings gone, where friends, bean baguette kept warm by the fridge, dirty pop plastered on his hand, t-shirt stuck to August morning sweat. I would venture out. 4-pack croissants, Taylor's coffee, orange juice with bits, served before they'd noticed the remnants of last night's last one smoked out the back door. But now, I flake finer pastry from my chin, solitary on City Road's pavement, as cleaners dance around the plastic.
I cut my hair with sure, chunky snips over the sink. I'd been warned it would come to this. Water sprinkling from the blades, the hair exhausted, dropping ribbons onto white acrylic. My wits blown away like owls. Look, each heavy lock shines in a golden light sublimely leaking from above, so I feel cheered against my will. The last hanging thread of integrity. I do to myself what small girls secretly do to Barbie dolls, brazenly and audaciously, like snipping the ends from spring onions. What other news from the neighbourhood of grim revelations? The bells are stunned in their churches. The postman tramps along the railway line, hoping for a journey, elbows rustling against a cool green breeze. Nothing more than a mild cold, tissues blooming from his pocket. A brief chill flushes my neck. What of it?
This is What Colour is Justice? What is the colour of justice? Not the dark blue of a polyester uniform covering white skin, the blue-clad knee pressing relentlessly on black-skinned neck, cutting off the supply of colourless oxygen, the flow of red blood. Not the blue of the great rivers, polluted and endangered by Dapple's black snake flowing through indigenous sovereign territory. What about red? But no. Crimsons and vermilions paint the blood lost in war and violence, the fires of rage and hatred that descend in the red mist. Not yellow, a word used to abuse skin color or those opposed to war. Or a fabric star, herded onto a train with its companions, stitched on a garment where the rolled back sleeve reveals a number tattooed in dark ink on skin. reminder of the barbarity and inhumanity of man. And not pink, in a triangle of cloth, condemned to death camp for feeling the wrong kind of love. And surely not the silver, as the bombs droppeth without mercy, anything but gently, as they rain down from heaven. What of the gold of the sun? The same sun shines on everyone, but is not gold where it started, the ravaging of lands and peoples for wealth and power? What of a deeper, richer blue, of the cobalt, dug from deep mines by little frightened children to give us phones and greener cars? But surely green, the colour of nature, of calm and balance of the heart. Then think of the lungs of the earth, the great primeval rainforest, hacked and aglow with Guantanamo orange flames, wanton destruction for short-term gain. Purple? Is that the one? The colour of the hearts of war? Do Black Lives Matter? Battling and battered by supremacist white, which colonized and raped all the world, burning, looting, taking, killing. Between the light and the dark, where does balance lie? What is the color of justice? In pulling all together, solidarity and respect, fraternité, égalité, liberté, liberty, freedom, Saoirse, in any language, the rainbow of unity is the color of justice. All colors, all nations, all and every orientation, in respect, in conscious open heart, the rainbow calls us together, stronger together, weaker apart.
It's called Coup 19, the poem, and the epigraph is taken from the minutes of a meeting of the SAGE group that's been advising the government, and specifically the Government Advisory Group on Scientific Pandemic Influenza Behaviour. And the epigraph reads thus: the perceived level of personal threat needs to be increased among those who are complacent, using hard-hitting emotional messaging and social disapproval from one's community. Coup 19, after Homer Simpson. I can't wear this lockdown, locked up life like you. I need to unpick its thickly knit two-ply polyester propaganda, poke holes in its cheap rhetorical vest and pants. Sure, the neighbourhood Stasi, gloved and gagged in DIY PPI, will tweet, twitch curtains, send text messages to the BBC when they clock me strolling my naked soul down the street, when they notice my bare-ass passion not standing on my doorstep every Thursday at 8 on the dot, not kneeling, not clapping loud enough. Oh, I'll never be one to dress in uniform and muzzle. I've a hand-woven psychopathological immunity to this green and yellow tar and feathers community, charging me with causing death by having a picnic and not giving a shit about other people while it nabs all the family-sized packets of pasta and panic buys toilet paper. I don't buy this two-faced tissue spun by slippery suits with portfolios in plundering public purses and cutting care, hashtagging save the NHS, the vulnerable, hang the cost. It's stitch-up, a shut-up, shut-down, put-down gone viral. Politicians with second homes and gardens the size of our local park, barking on about how we're all in this together, on the level, flattening curves. Now the swings are gone, the bench is bound in neon tape, and we can all partake in Zoom pub quizzes, cloaked behind usernames, passwords, security questions, contactless, cashless, remote, controlled.
The tip of my toe tingles as I dance, despite the incorporeality of angels. I sigh. It seems an odd thing that we are all crowded here, all balanced, all dancing on a pin.
It's called The Boss. It's a prose poem. An out-of-date edition of the Rough Guide to Ireland brought me to this B&B just outside of Westport. The rustworms hadn't left much in the Bord Fáilte sign beside the gate, and the 1970s laminate wood panelling in the bedroom told you all you needed to know. Still, you can thank the Lord for small mercies. There was I enjoying a decent enough mayo, rasher and sausage when I looked up to see Bruce Springsteen gawking at me from across the breakfast table. Unmistakable in his blue and red check shirt, the bulge of his biceps, the curly brown hair, his impish smile. I leaned back and snuck a look under the table, and there they were, the half-length boots a navvy would be proud of. And what now would bring a man from New Jersey to these parts? I asked. I'm a huge fan of Donegal fiddle music. I prefer it to the Kerry style. And while I was at it, I thought I might see a bit of the wild Atlantic way. Ah, fair enough, I said. It's meant to be beautiful. Now that I have you here, do you mind if I ask you what inspired the river? I love that line. Is a dream a lie if it don't come true, or is it something worse? Shakespeare himself would be jealous. To tell you the God-honest truth, he said, with a cheeky grin, tucking into his bacon and sausage, I stole that line from a fortune cookie I picked up in Chinatown after a bit of beef chow mein.
Right, this is called That Moment. That moment when you realize that your definition of yourself goes beyond a new name. A name that's the name of the most beautiful flower you can think of. A name that resonates with the color you feel you are. A name that proclaims kinship with the country you've come to live in or the country you've left behind. A name that carries the scent of parents that you wish you'd had, or the ones you did have whom you want to remember. A name that your sister can accept and your brother might have loved. A name that suggests the essence of the qualities you want to embrace. That moment when you suddenly realize that you can stop feeling adrift. You don't need to regret the rifts of the past. You're not the outcast, the different one, the discounted, the unacknowledged, the unwanted, the forgotten one. You can claim your membership in the flow of history, your place in the heritage of people who came before you. All your life, you've been reading their words, watching their faces, listening to their music. These are your real cousins, your great aunts and uncles and ancestors. These are the warriors and martyrs, heroes and heroines, the people who through their struggles laid the groundwork for you to make your contribution. And yes, that moment when you found out that the price of belonging is that you too must step up and say your piece.
Years hence, a young boy asks an old man about the pandemic, and it goes as follows. Did the birds notice? Great flocks of birds were seen leaving cities in China and elsewhere. There were no more crumbs from the cafes. There were no more gleanings from the marketplace. Did the air change as well? The air was never as pure in all my life before. We could see further and clearer than ever. The lungs of the world healed as ours grew sick. Did the wild animals notice? Goats came down from the hills in Wales. Kangaroos wandered streets in Australia. Dolphins swam free in the canals of Venice. Did everything sound the same? There was silence and there was noise. Planes, cars, trucks were never heard so seldom. Birdsong was never heard so loud, never so sweet. Did the people forget when it was over? No, my child. In saddened hearts, it never went away. And that's the first one. Thank you. The next one then is inspired by tonight and by meeting all and so many lovely friends and new friends from Wales and everywhere else. I wrote this staying with Dominic one time when I was doing that Whisper reading tour of Wales, and since then I've actually managed to get to Clanstefan, which is referenced here as well, over to Mel's side of the estuary, because I was there the last time I was in Wales. I was there meeting relatives of my wife's, and we had an absolutely beautiful meal there, looking back across the other side. So I've seen it from both sides. And while I was there, I wrote this piece called As Down by Ferryside. As down by Ferryside one day I lingered, the stream from the dingle descending blessed me with sparkling waters pure. Wayside flowers led my feet to the smiling fisherman hauling on nets of eternity. Stream, flowers, sea, gather and guide me through, wrapping me in Ferryside's warm embrace. Her beauty laid bare, not great and overpowering, but rather the warmer, welcoming sort. Comforting in her comfort, soothing as her sands shimmer by the last wave brightly sparkling. In springtime sunlight, it is the little details the eyes seek out. Hidden gems, shells, old stones, rounded pebbles nestling against old wood, old iron. Polished by time, steps invite me to pause, contemplating broken dragon's teeth beyond, old stones above Clanstefan. Best seen from Ferryside. A perfect curve of steel rails draws a limit. Inside this arc hides gentle perfection. Linger here a while, my friend, casting aside all dejection, resting in bright Ferryside. And that's my piece for tonight. Thank you.
God made the Indians, John said to us one Sunday afternoon on Wally's Ranch, then added, God made the white man too. That we agreed, it was beyond dispute. But logic posed a dire consequence. The half-breeds, God never created them. They're the devil's children, devil's doing. Sunday sermon over, we gulped down our coffee in the bunkhouse, went outside to watch the sun go slowly down, the three of us, myself and Jens the Dane, and John from somewhere in Saskatchewan. I liked the man. He knew an awful lot about the ways of muskrats, antelope, the flight of geese, the haunts of duck and deer. He'd seen buffalo and talked of bears, could rope a steer and bring him to the ground. And he was tough. He worked from dawn till dusk, 6 days a week, with scarce an hour off. But Sundays, they were different. I do hate Sundays, Sundays worst of all. Why is that, I asked. Today we get a rest, sit in the sunshine, you can have a smoke. But then I get to think about my wife and kids living in North Saskatchewan. He'd leave them there for weeks, for months on end, so he could work for money in the south, here on this cattle ranch, Wells Ranching Company. And then I saw his family photograph, his wife, his children, and their old grandma. And I realized at once just what he was, a half-breed from an Indian reservation, a devil child, not white nor Indian, lost to his tribe, but still not part of mine. I'm sorry, John, you surely must be dead. We had our chat some 60 years ago, and you weren't young, and I'm now quite old. So did your children flourish in our world? Do they cherish what remains of yours? Believe me, John, I learnt a lot from you about much more than antelopes and bears and buffalo and geese, rats, ducks and deer.
Yeah, it's called Unraveling. At night, she walks every aisle of the supermarket, something she took up from the start of all this. It helps her clock up steps on the watch they supplied to keep her health in check, a smile project. At the dairy aisle, a woman tosses blocks of butter in the air. Another bumps her side as she struggles to adjust her mask. A few feet away, an older man reads his list over and over, as if trying to translate it into something familiar. She moves to the spices, sauces, and seasoning, moves again past the surface cleaners, window cleaners, and disinfectants, finally finding comfort in the wine section. She spots him over by the whiskey. He catches her eye, funnels a well of sadness into it. He moves, nearly topples some absolute. Quick to steady it, he carefully feels its shape. Then onto the cider. Here he finds what he needs. She judges, until she feels the full weight of her own bottles. Tonight she will take the long way home through the streets of an empty town. Thank you.
It's called Winter Sunday Afternoons. Winter Sunday afternoons, I pick up twigs and sticks of ash and oak, and also willow, from field, garden, and outgrown hedgerow, that autumn gales have torn from the trees' tangled tresses. I am blessed by this necessity, this primeval labour, this fundamental harvest, twice warming the body, kindling the spirit, distant from the clutch of money, the claptrap diatribe of politician, the television's siren blether. Yes, I am blessed by this need for fire that draws me out into haunt of heron, the fox's clandestine domain, the snipe's hunting grounds, where frost-bitten air stings skin clean under the one embracing sky.